This is Captain Marbles, the real one, Monica Rambeau, issue 1 of 1. This is a pretty deplorable comic because it was only printed so that Marvel could hold on to the legal rights to the Captain Marbles name. They did this multiple times. They would just put out random one-shots or reprints with the Captain Marbles name big on the cover, purely as a means to keep their claim to a name that they should have graciously given to DC. This, though, is by Dwayne McMilestone and Mark Brigite, and it has a good starring character. And there is 23 pages of... There is a good issue in here, but we will come to that. The other reason this is deplorable. Our star is Captain Marbles, the real one, Monica Rambeau. And this here was a big comeback after an ignoble exit from the Avengers, which saw lose her powers after being made to look like a crap leader. My preferred headcanon is that Dr. Doom was mentally influencing her to be a bad leader, rather than she was actually a bad leader. I never understood why they felt the need to depower the character or have her leave in almost disgrace when there were much cleaner ways to have her leave the Avengers. In my mind, you could have just had her dad get sick so that she needs to take time out from the team. I guess they were going for the most dramatic and exciting way, but something simple like family health, it does it without the character debased and then apparently retired after failure. So Monica Rambeau, she has gone back to her normal life. She doesn't have her powers anymore. She has retired from superheroics. She has gone back to New Orleans and back to being a boat police. This is really solid stuff, setting up and reintroducing us to the character. And this could have been a winner. A boat that she is on gets hijacked, and now is the time to talk about why this sucks. This was a mini-series. This was meant to be a mini-series. Very, very clearly. They had completed work on issue 1 and some of issue 2. And then someone at Marvel halted it. They said, we didn't want to do a mini-series with that character anymore. Then Marvel realised that they still needed to put a comic out with the name. So what we have here is a complete first issue of a mini-series, which is really good. We have 4 or 5 pages from an issue 2, and then a fucking mess of crunching a plot together out of something intended to be longer. It reads terrible, and it is a shame because this first issue, which remains largely unaltered, is good. Monica, even though she doesn't have her powers, she still has her ad Captain Marvel's costume, and so she puts it on to try and intimidate the hijackers. The general public didn't know she has lost her powers, and even without them, she is still a capable fighter, and she is trained as a police. She is hoping that wearing the costume will give her an extra edge. But we are then introduced to a new character called Powder Keg, as made famous by Fat Gerbil Man's Masters of Evil in that ugly Galactical Guardian story. This is a character that was sorely not so needed in the Marvel Universe. There was plenty of other generic, super strong, disposable villains. I think the only reason we are seeing him here instead of someone already established is because they were wanting to try and give Captain Marbles, the real one, Monica Rambeau, her own baddies and her own rogues gallery. So Monica's plan, it's a snag because now she has to fight someone super powered, but she still manages to outwit him. And this would have been a hopefully good miniseries. The first issue shows a lot of strength, and it does a lot of good with the character. But one thing I am not entirely crazy about is she gets powers back, but they are not quite the ones she had before. Now she has them seriously limited. She has less control over them, less finesse. She cannot stay in an energy form as easily. She has issues with density and with flying. And I didn't understand this. Who at Marvel thought Monica Rambeau's problem was she was too powerful? And with these new powers, it is a similar thing to when that shoddy writer gave the Flash time travel powers in Son of M. They are more complicated and confusing than the originals. And other writers didn't really tackle this new setup for her because they are not really explained that well here. And then she just gets her hard powers back eventually, which they should have flat out done here, especially when it was decided not to do a miniseries, but reappropriate the completed work as a one-shot. It would be so easy to re-letter some of the bits about her powers being different and ascribe some of the stuff like crashing into some boxes as being because of her not having used her powers in a while. This is where issue 1 would end. It ends with a first issue tease cliffhanger, and Powder Keg, he is gone after this. He was just there for the first issue, and this is where the one shot should have ended. Just have it be a good quality regular sized issue, re-establishing this character for future use. And then after this, here is very blatantly issue 2's opening splash page. My belief is that the first 4 pages of this were exactly as intended. And then we get a truncated plot that is so unsatisfying. Captain Marbles, the real one, Monica Rambeau, she fights Moonstump because that was a thing in Roy Sternman's Avengers run. Presumably, this would have been a full issue. This would have been the focus for issue 2 or maybe issue 3, properly exploring the rivalry between these two characters. But what happens is Moonstump gets one-shotted so that then the apparent big bad can show up, and she is impressively shit due to the lack of page time devoted to her. We have no reason to be concerned about her, and she's not even wearing power armor original to her. She's just wearing the Guardman armor, and I didn't think it's really said why. It's possible Mark Brigite just didn't have time, or he didn't want to waste time designing a new look for this bad guy who was effectively ruined by Marvel Corporate cutting this miniseries back the way that it did. And like Moonstump before, she is defeated relatively quickly too. Both these fights are inconsequential and they are over before they began, which means it doesn't allow time to properly explore or define Monica Rambeau's newest power set. So I didn't really recommend most of this. I can't think of much worse than taking somewhere with a lot of promise, a mini-series like this, and then doing this to it. Think about some of the absolute tripe they published as mini-series then. And then think that they made a business decision not to publish this one. I would not say didn't read the first issue's worth of comic, but it will only disappoint you to see that quality get undervalued and mismanaged. There might be some ironic fun to be seen with the fact that this miniseries was downgrading Monica Rambeau's powers, but then the book was downgraded itself. 7 thumbs up.